You normally do. Just talk right through.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Hillary and Deb for another episode of the Ready, Set, Grow show. Hi, Deb. It's so great to be with you.
Oh, I love being with you on Tuesdays. We have such a good time.
Good time. Yes. So today we are continuing our series, Who Are You Becoming? And we discussed last week a little bit about it was sales, right? Sales and closing. And
Mhm.
we are really diving in here because as entrepreneurs, we just want to dive right in, 2 feet in right here. Because as entrepreneurs, there are many aspects that we need to become. And today we're talking about the numbers. We're talking about the numbers. When
Yeah.
you are an entrepreneur, business person, a mom, Deb was, when we were in the green room, Deb reminded me about the whole, yeah, even if you're a mom, um, running a house, you
Yeah.
do need to have a handle on your numbers. And we call it financial intelligence. All right. And you can't be an entrepreneur truly, or at least to start to grow in your entrepreneurship without knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
So it's like we're going to talk about it from different perspectives, but I got a real like eye opener when it came to that with one of our shared mentors. um and he was breaking down for me that understanding of how do you price. Okay, and a lot of people, they in the digital space, okay, you're selling online, whether you if you're an affiliate marketer or you're a network marketer, the price of what you're going after is set, and then what you have to do is match your goals and match your activity to what the price, or what is your revenue goal. And I was sharing with Deb that sometimes when you let people know that, all of a sudden they're like, so say they want their goal is 5,000 a month, right? I want to make 5,000 a month. Then when you start to break down the numbers of what that's going to take, then they shift, and they're like, well, maybe I'll go for 2,000 or something like that.
Yeah. That right there tells you they don't understand their numbers
Hmm.
because you never back it down. What your goal is, you have to keep that,
Yeah.
which means you got to work a little harder. You got to work a little more as opposed to backing your goal down. Because if you figure out as an entrepreneur, as a mom, running a household, how much do I have in my checkbook and how much are groceries going to cost? Same thing as a business person. Okay, I want to make $5,000. How many people am I going to have to talk to? How many products am I going to have to sell that my goal is 5,000,
Hmm.
not 2,000? Don't cheat yourself,
Yeah.
but you've got to know your numbers.
Hmm. And you got to know the breakdown of how that breaks down, because the eye opener for a lot of businesses, especially when you're doing something online, is that you forget the cost of doing business. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, when it comes to the digital space, you forget the cost of your hosting, the cost of your website, the cost that PayPal is going to take out when you send that invoice, the
The
cost of
cost of
maybe
your taxes.
of your taxes. Yes.
Hmm.
So you don't think about the cost of doing business is real, whether you're offline or online. And maybe in the offline space it's a little more concrete, because you actually have a landlord coming to you and saying, hey, where's my rent? And you have electricity to pay, you've got internet to pay. But even that, as a digital business, yes, you may be doing your business from your home, but the time that you spend doing your business stuff using your internet, that's a business cost, right? And you
Yeah.
should have some way of doing that. Or your cell phone, right? We know salespeople, they have a kind of a rate for their car usage and cell phone usage when they're doing sales, because they don't actually get a company car. They have to use their own car, and then they will
Right.
calculate, right? You, as an entrepreneur business person, you have to take all of those things into consideration as well, right? Now in the digital space, it's a little different, all right? But when you're meeting people, before you used to have to write down the cost of the coffee, the cost of gas to get to the coffee store. Now you have to write down the cost of Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And a lot of times what will throw people, because it did me for a little bit, is like my domain, my hosting, whatever I need to or can pay just one lump sum because it's cheaper. You pay for the year as opposed to monthly.
A month.
Um, when we pay yearly, it's like, oh, well, that's already paid for. And,
Paid for.
you got to include that also because it's there. You paid for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that, that kind of like, so when we talk about subscriptions, a lot of people, they think about Netflix as a subscription, but your hosting is a subscription. Your access to Zoom, whatever affiliate programs you're in that have a subscription, that is a cost of doing business. Now, what you have to understand with your numbers is, how do I not only cover those costs, cover the tax man, and then identify what you really want for yourself. So what you're getting is never 100%. That's the first thing that you got to understand, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing like managing a home, right? When you get your salary or you get whatever the income is, you've already lost whatever percentage it was to the tax man, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you've got to divvy that up. It's like this piece has to go to the mortgage, this piece has to go to school fees if you have school fees, this piece. So the same approach that you would take with managing your household finances, you have to look at it from a very rigid standpoint. Now, the difference in entrepreneurship is that now you have the ability, once you know the numbers, you now have the ability to work to overachieve on that, right? And that's where, instead of backing down your goal, you say, okay, so I want 5,000 for myself. Maybe 5,000 equates to 40% or 50% of what you're actually going to get to keep.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe that's what it equates to. So what you actually have to earn is, let me do that math like really quickly. Like let's say it's 40%. So what you have to earn is 7,000, right? So now your goal is actually 7,000. You're going to take home 5, and then the rest goes out to all of the cost. What do you have to do now to reach 7,000? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. But
right.
Yeah, Steph. Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, this is quite appropriate for us to talk about this today. I've told you earlier, I am reading the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And I put it off for like 3 years because I had started reading other personal growth type financial books and I was not ready for it yet. But I started reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I very much am a believer that God has so much more planned for me than what my little brain could even imagine. But one thing that he says throughout the book is you got to stretch. You've got to think. You want 5,000, but that means you've got to talk, you've got to sell, you've got to talk more to more people, to sell more, to get to that 7,000. So you got to use your mind, and you can do it. The Spirit will allow you to do it. And if I had not ever had that happen to me, I'd like, what are you talking about, Deb? It's happened. It's happened to me. And there's my clock. We were trying to beat my clock, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, it sounds like you want 5,000, and then, but Hillary just said you've got to sell 7,000 in order to keep the 5,000 for yourself, but pay all of the other things, like a household. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it. Yes, you can. You have to have faith in yourself and in the Spirit.
Yes, definitely. I couldn't agree more. You have to have that faith that really, once you do your part, as they say, God helps those who help themselves. You still have to do your part. So you still have to figure out, okay, what is it that I have to do? And then, yeah,
Yeah. It's
things
kind
go.
of like the joke when the person says, "But God, I wanted to win the lottery. You told me I could." God says, "But you had to buy the ticket first." So
I always
anyway,
love that one. I always love that one. Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
which
Yeah.
means you have to do your part.
You have to do your part, right? So yes, it could be a little daunting, it could be a little scary. And I think one of the biggest things for a lot of people is really just understanding that breakdown, understanding it, and then now you've got to do something with it. Now that you know, and that is the interesting thing about knowledge is that once you know what you're supposed to do, you almost feel guilty if you don't do it. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
when you
like
break it
you
down, it really does. It's not as scary when you break it down because you're not looking at 7,000. You've broken it down where it needs to go.
to
And
go.
those smaller numbers we can handle as humans, we
Yeah,
can handle that.
yeah.
But yeah, as Hillary said, it tells you what you have to do.
What to do. It tells you what you have to do, definitely. And one of the things that was an eye opener for me in terms of pricing. So for those who struggle with pricing digital products, and we could go on and on with that, but just breaking down your numbers and understanding where things fall, it gives you a sort of understanding and respect for your value and your worth,
Mhm.
right? You finally start to see, you know what, I am valued more, and that you are able to price and position yourself where you need to price and position yourself to meet those goals. So there are some people who constantly say, well, I'm going to sell 10,000 $7 products, and there are people out there who are like, I'm going to sell $10,000 products, or some, whatever that number is, right? Because you understand now the value of
Yeah,
your time, but you also understand the numbers. So getting your numbers is one thing, but then valuing your time, your worth, all right, in what you're going to do and how you're going to put that out to others is also very, very important. So yeah,
very
so that
true.
is
Very true.
our so I hope everyone got value from this. Do share it with those. Definitely, this is something that we can go much deeper on in terms of numbers and breaking down and everything. That's something that I think, Deb, if you're open, I'm sure you'd like to talk to some people one on one if they're interested. Likewise, myself,
Exactly.
if you're
Yeah.
interested, it's something that definitely you could go one on one. We will say we are not financial advisors or accountants, but we
No.
do have a little bit of common sense that could assist you. All right. So
Yeah.
message us, reach out to us, comment below, and we will definitely be in touch with you. So next week, we're continuing, all right, this series of Who Are You Becoming? And we're looking now at Marketing Genius. So now that you know your numbers and you know what you have to go after, guess what? You got to start to market. So next week, we're going to be talking about Marketing Genius. So see you next week. Thanks, Dev, again for
You're welcome and have a good week, everyone.